What's going on, guys? It's Fantasy Stock Exchange here, bringing the second installment of the day of Dynasty Decisions. Heck, we had to double dose you on the same day. Get ready for tomorrow's episode as well. We'll be recording in Owner's Box as you guys are watching this. But yeah, we got the second half of the Dynasty Decisions submissions that you guys have sent over these past couple weeks, and we're excited to kick it off. Corey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It wouldn't be Dynasty Decisions without Danny saying, but yeah, without any transition to go in. He could go with that being said, but yeah is also a classic example. Yeah, so if you guys are seeing this right now, we are recording live together for the first time on this channel. For Owner's Box, we're going to be recording an episode for doing football with them, and then they're going to come on to record something with us. So you guys are going to get to see us live together for an episode for the first time in a while. I don't know how often we're going to do something like this, but hopefully we could do it more often than not. But yes, I am doing good, ready to get into the Dynasty Decisions. As always, if you guys want to submit your teams, follow us on Twitter, DM us on there, join the Discord, DM us on there, ask us any questions relating to your Dynasty rosters, preferably in an Excel format so we can, minimize the amount of work on our end. And then we can answer your trade questions, your rookie questions, your rebuilding, contending questions, all that stuff.
And we're ready to hit that damn intro on y'all. Okay, so let's start off with the first team of the video, and that's going to be from a very valued member of the Discord, Spicy Hot, but it's not his team. It's his papa's team. We got Spicy Hot's dad submitting his team, a 14-team Superflex league. You guys can see on the screen. At quarterback, Wentz, Goff, Burrow, and Trask. Running backs, you got Barkley, Jacobs, Harris, and Tariq Cohen. Wide receivers, Sutton, Fuller, Ayuk, Corey Davis, and some other fodder there. Tight ends, you got Waller in particular. And then in terms of picks, he's got basically all of his picks in 2022 and all of his picks in 2023. His main questions, again, keep in mind, this is a 14-team league. He feels like this is a playoff team, but not one with a high enough ceiling to win the ship. Should he trade for more win-now pieces to try to push for that, or switch to a rebuild already? He just wants to know if he is stuck right now in no man's land. So looking at this roster, I would tend to agree with that. In a 14-team league, I would say this is a pretty strong roster, but probably not the best or maybe three best teams in your league. What are your initial thoughts when looking at this roster, Corey?
Yeah, I know everybody assumes Dynasty is black and white. You're either rebuilding or contending, but sometimes you're a good team, a contending team, and you're also in a good future position. And that's the way I look at this team. I don't think you need to tear this down and rebuild it. I don't think you need to go and trade both of your first round picks to go acquire more assets. I think you have a good enough team to win this year. Remember, this is fantasy football. As long as you have a top 5, top 6 team in your league, you can win the championship because injuries happen, busts, random shit like Kareem Hunt getting arrested in the middle of the season. Like stuff like that happens, man. If you have a good enough team to make the playoffs, you have a good enough team to win the championship. Unless you're, one team in your league is a complete super team with Barkley, CMC, and Derrick Henry as his running backs, and you always have a chance to win the championship. So I would go into this season with your team the way it is. If you find an opportunity to acquire a win now piece or trade a player on your roster for a draft pick, then go ahead and take it. But I wouldn't force anything, honestly. I think you can win the championship with this team. You still have all of your picks in the next 2 drafts, and anything that you're lacking, you can address in the draft next year or make trades in next offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're kind of in the spot where I kind of just let it play out. Again, this is a type of team where at the deadline, yes, you still have your first round pick this year, your first round pick next year. If you start out 6-2, maybe you want to acquire an extra receiver for depth, or maybe upgrade from Harris to a better running back, or anything like that could be the case. Or, you know what? Guess what? You start out 3-5. The team's underperforming. Maybe Wentz didn't really come out to his old Philadelphia days. Then you can look at, say, okay, who can I get immediate value for right now? The kind of guys in that scenario I'd be looking for. Maybe Ferkser has a good start as the tight end for the Titans. Sutton has an unbelievable start. You could flip someone like that. Aside from that, again, I agree. This is not a team I would completely tear down because you're kind of in position where you could be flexible in determining where you want to go.
Yeah, and again, this is a 14-teamer too. So
absolutely,
the fact that you have a couple studs on your team is helpful, but your team overall is pretty balanced. You got decent depth, not like the greatest depth in the world. You are missing, superstar talent at the wide receiver position, But I mean, I'm going to keep saying this all offseason. I think Brandon Ayuk has superstar potential at the wide receiver position. So he's your number one guy, in my opinion, at least from an asset standpoint. So I think you're in good shape. I think you can compete this year and going forward.
Yep, absolutely. So anything else you want to add, or should we go on to Gingerale's team?
Nope, we're good.
All right, we'll kick it off then. Gingerale's team, a 12-team half PPR, one quarterback league. And you guys can see the team on the screen, but he's currently got Josh Allen, Cam Newton, Drew Lock, and Davis Mills as his quarterbacks. Running back, Nick Chubb, Zeke Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, etc. at running back. Wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, Juju Smith-Schuster, Debo Smith, Devonta Smith, and others at wide receiver. And at tight end, you got the main duo there of Irv Smith and Cole Kmet. For his picks, he's got a 2022 first, but he doesn't have his first in 2023 or 2024. So he's got two questions listed here. Number one, what should I do to get better? Kelsey and Pitts are not available if he were to make a tight end upgrade. So to answer that question quite simply, your wide receivers are absolutely stacked. Your top 4 running back should really carry you. And in a one quarterback league, having Josh Allen to spearhead it. Yes, Irv Smith or Cole Kmet may not look pretty in your lineup, but I wouldn't force a tight end upgrade if I had to.
Yeah, I totally agree. Your team, you have a quarterback who's going to anchor your roster. Even in a one quarterback league, he's enough of an advantage that you can make up for a tight end disadvantage, right? Like Josh Allen and Irv Smith is, in my opinion, the equivalent of having like Tannehill and TJ Hawkinson. Like when you balance the two positions, I think Josh Allen is that much of an advantage at that position that it's okay to have two guys that I still believe in as young guys, but not necessarily the proven studs like a Travis Kelce would be, for example. But like you said, you have 4 elite running backs, especially Zeke and Nick Chubb and the win now, asset part of it. And then at wide receiver, Diggs and Ridley are going to be 2 of my top 5 receivers on the season for redraft. So both of those guys should help carry your team as well. So I have no real complaints about this team. He says, any guys I should try and move on from now? If so, what for? You're in a winning window, right? Like you have your first next year. You don't have your first in 2023, 2024. So you might have to reevaluate some things after this year, maybe after the year after that. But if I'm you, I'm going for gold. Like I'm going for gold this year and next year. I think your running back should be in their, peak physical performance the next 2 years. Outside of that, there might be some question marks, but those guys for sure are, you always want to build your team around where your running backs primes are going to be. And even if they do fall off a little bit, you can trade them for some picks. You still have J.K. Dobbins and DeAndre Swift to fill out your running back core. I think you're in a great spot.
The only move I'd be considering, honestly, again, I mentioned Juju, like it's say, for instance, Juju Smith-Schuster gets off to a hot start or something like that. And you could flip, let's say, is it going to sound optimistic if I say Juju Smith-Schuster, Mari Rogers in a first for like an Adams? Like if that
that's optimistic. I would actually be looking to do is trying to recoup one of my first round picks in the future for Juju.
That could work too. Yeah, like if he gets off to a hot start, you can get a 2023 one straight up for him if it's expected to be back end. That's something that you could do. So overall, I think you're in a really good position, a team that you could most definitely be super flexible with at the deadline, as we always say. The thing we got to make you comment at the end of the video is probably going to be flexible, so keep that in mind.
For sure.
Anyways, next team, Porkchief's team, 10-team, half PPR, 2 quarterback league. Corey, I'll let you take away with the Chief of Pork.
Yeah, and you can see his roster's very good, right? In a 2 quarterback league, you have Dak Prescott and Ryan Tannehill, 2 stud quarterbacks.
And Trey Lance.
Have Trey Lance on your bench, at least for this season, and Matt Ryan, who's still, a solid piece that I'd probably be looking to move at this point in your current roster. And then you have Travis Etienne, Mike Davis, Melvin Gordon, Zach Moss at running back. Not the greatest running back core in the world. Wide receiver, you're looking pretty good. CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp, Cortland Sutton, Odell, Laviska Shenault, Elijah Moore. Tight end, you got Noah Fant. It looks like you got 2 first-round picks in 2022. You have a second-round pick, 2/3, all your 2023 picks. So in pretty good shape from a future standpoint, from a competing now standpoint. But he does say there's 3 to 4 super teams that are in his league, which gives me a little bit of pause, obviously, when it comes to trying to compete now. Because obviously, if you have 3 to 4 super teams, not just like 1 or 2, then you really need to have a studly squad to be able to compete with teams like that. Because yeah, fantasy happens, shit happens, but what are the odds 3 to 4 super teams fail in your league? It's probably not going to happen. So he said he didn't plan to take Lance at 105, but couldn't pass him up. Great drafting, right?
Yeah.
Excellent drafting. You said you couldn't pass him up. I agree. If Trey Lance is there at 105, I don't care who's on the board. Trey Lance is my 101 in super flex drafts, and especially in a 2 quarterback draft. So the fact that he was there at 105, you stuck to your board. You didn't, reach on Javonte Williams, even though you probably did need him. You just take the quarterback and look to make moves later.
Yep, absolutely. So you can see that deal right there. Recent trades. That is an awesome deal. And as much as I love Ezekiel Elliott, if you could tell me right now, I could turn Ezekiel Elliott into LaVisca Chenault, Trey Lance, and De'Ami Brown. I'm sorry. Cowboys bias aside, I'm fucking taking that package for Ezekiel Elliott. So great deal there. In terms of his next deal, you lucked out that you got Devonta Smith at the 201, but the overall package for Eckler just wouldn't have been enough if Devonta Smith wasn't there.
Yeah, and I think I imagine he made this deal because of those super teams that are in his league. He wanted to, maybe rebuild necessarily, because he sold Zeke Elliott and he sold Austin Eckler. If your team had Zeke Elliott and Austin Eckler, you might have been able to compete with it, but the fact that you did sell Eckler and you got some young pieces in return, I just wish you would have, instead of getting a lot of things, I would have rather had 2 things that are really good, if that makes any sense, right? Like, instead of getting the Zach Moss, OBJ, and Devontae Smith and stuff, if you would have just gotten Devontae Smith and Javonte Williams or something, that would have been a much better package for Austin Eckler than getting a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But he does make back for it. As much as I love Devonta Smith, a 2022 first and third, I think, is a very fine package, especially if you expect it mid. In a 2 quarterback league, the way I look at it is next year's quarterback. I know you don't like it already.
I don't. I like Devontae Smith enough that I would hold on to him. Even in his 2 quarterback format, I still would view Devontae Smith as a top 10 pick in this this first round rookie draft.
And that's the only reason why I would like that pick, is because it's a 2 quarterback league and the quarterback class available next year. What I'm thinking is I'm not making that pick next year. I'm shipping it for a team that realizes, oh shit, I am fucked at quarterback, and you could absolutely fleece someone for that pick. So overall, I think it's a fair deal. Again, obviously, Devonta Smith is a stud in his own right, so it does hurt losing him. But if that pick's anywhere in the middle, like, and you're eyeballing a Spencer Rattler, a Sam Howell, a freaking Malik Willis, someone like that, whoever gets like high draft capital next year, and you could sell it off to a contender, I think it'd be a very good plan of yours. And he actually mentions a potential quarterback deal here. And he was offered Miles Sanders in a late 2022 first for Tannehill, Davis, Edwards, and OBJ. And I'll say this right off the bat. This would be fair if it was just Tannehill and Davis, but I don't like the fact that you're giving Edwards and OBJ as well in this.
I also just don't like the fact that it's Miles Sanders. He's just not a guy that I want to trade for. It's just a personal thing with Miles Sanders. If that were Javonte Williams,
I would do that.
Travis Etienne's already on your team, but if that were like a running back in that tier for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins or something like that, I would much rather do that deal, but it's just a Miles Sanders thing for me. I just don't want to trade for Miles Sanders because I don't trust his situation long-term. I don't trust his ability to be a feature running back in the NFL because all he's done when he's had a feature workload is get hurt. So I would say probably not. I would, especially with Tannehill, with someone like Tannehill, I would wait until the season starts because Tannehill is going to be phenomenal this season. And if you're looking to get peak value for Tannehill, it's going to come in season. And I would say Matt Ryan is a little questionable. I don't know if he's going to get peak value during the season or if he's going to be at peak value now. I'd imagine if we see Kyle Pitts come out and be phenomenal, Calvin Ridley doing his thing, then Matt Ryan should be at the very least a Kirk Cousins level starter for fantasy. So maybe you can get a future first for Matt Ryan for a quarterback needy team in the best case scenario. So I'd probably be looking to move Matt Ryan if anybody, but Ryan Tannehill is also a pretty good piece to try and move given the fact that his value is going to be really high for the next couple of years. Yep.
No, I definitely agree with the sentiment. So overall, any closing thoughts on Porkchief's team, or can we go on to Primetime's team?
No, let's move on to Primetime's team, and I'll take care of this one here. We got a 12-team Superflex, startup draft, and he basically said if he gets off to a slow start, who should he fire sales so he can improve his draft spot for 2022? I know my tight end room needs work, but so does half the league. Apparently, that's usually how the tight end position goes. So what are your thoughts on his team? He's got Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Jameis Winston, Saquon, Kenyon Drake, Michael Carter. So a little weak at running back, especially RB2. Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, Jamar Chase. Geez, can't get a much better 3-stack of wide receivers than that. And you got DJ Moore as your fourth receiver, Elijah Moore. Again, great wide receiver core for sure. And he'll be able to start up to 4 of those guys a week with 2 wide receivers and 2 flex spots. So a pretty good starting roster when you look at it. You have to imagine it's going to be like Jameis Winston and Trey Lance starting quarterback. Saquon, probably Michael Carter as his running back. So weak at running back, but tight end spot also kind of weak. I think it's pretty hard to know what to do with a situation like this because overall your starting roster looks pretty good, but the problem is that you're weak in some very key areas.
Yeah. And the way I'm looking at this team, he mentions who should I fire sale if it gets off to a slower start. And I wouldn't necessarily call it fire sale because I still think you're going to get a fantastic package for it. When I think of the word fire sale, I automatically just assume, oh, you're selling for the low just to get them out. The guys that I would sell with the hope of getting a huge package for is if we see Saquon getting off to a huge start. I know you're not.
I totally disagree.
I know you're not of the belief, but man, if I can get 2 firsts and a fucking young running back for him, like I would consider something like that. And the other one I was looking at was Calvin Ridley as well. He's 27 years old. I'm thinking
of the 2 top receivers, Jefferson and Ridley, because let's say you sell Jefferson, right? Could you feasibly turn Justin Jefferson into Javonte Williams and TJ Hawkinson potentially? Or like,
easily. I would need more than that.
Tight end and a good young running back. If you could somehow get that out of Justin Jefferson, suddenly you still have Ridley, Chase, and DJ Moore as your top 3 receivers, even if you sold Justin Jefferson. And then you have Saquon, Javonte Williams, and TJ Hawkinson in your lineup. And then your lineup is complete. You have a good young tight end. You have 2 solid running backs, and you should be ready to go. So Jefferson, because his value is so high, is the one that I would be looking to sell. I don't know, maybe you get more from in season. And you should probably get about the same for him right now as you would in season because he's had so much offseason hype so far.
And again, me and Corey kind of have like a disagreement here for the most part on a Saquon Barkley because the way I don't
want to trade Saquon.
I know. And the way I view it is, again, like if I can get a younger running back and a piece added to it, like that's what I'll just do because I view this more as a 2022, 2023 type of team because you have such young assets on your team. I know Saquon's going to be young by then, but is his value going to be continuously going up comparatively to the rest of your team? I'm not necessarily of the belief of it. I know it's going to sound completely out there for people. Hey, Saquon Barkley, when he's on the field, may very well be the most talented running back in the league. I just don't know if he fits the window of the rest of your team personally, which is crazy to say. I know. Again, it's crazy, but and really,
I totally disagree with you. I don't know why you're looking at Saquon Barkley like he has a 2-year window, bro. He's like 24 years old, and he's a freakish athlete, a physical specimen. He's going to be good for the next 4 years at least.
I don't know. I just think right now, like if someone were to offer me Gibson in a first. Like, are you turning that down for Saquon Barkley right now, given the state of his roster?
Yeah,
you are.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's where I'm at a disagreement. That's the type
if you got Gibson a first and Hawkinson, or Gibson a first and even Fant, maybe I probably might take that. But your roster's good. Like you could probably win soon. It's like 2022. You could probably win. So I'm not necessarily looking to punt the future and get rid of my best asset, which Saquon is.
Yeah, that's fair. But when I look at Ridley, again, I'm on the flip side because I look at him, again, he's in 2 years.
The receivers, I agree with you. The receivers would be the ones that I would sell because you have plenty of depth at the position and you have 2 very high value receivers, 3 actually, very high value receivers on your roster. That's why I would look for a receiver because I think Saquon's value right now is the lowest it's ever going to be.
Oh, right now. No, I'm talking about in season.
Right.
Okay. When I say sell Saquon, I don't just mean, sell him right now when he has all these fucking medical reports. People aren't sure what he's going to do. No, this would be Saquon Barkley is the RB2, RB3 in fantasy, but you realize, oh, fuck, he's getting me more wins than I want right now because the rest of my team can't perform. That's when you say, okay, guess what? Antonio Gibson, a first-round pick, TJ Hawkinson. See you later. Mop it up. You move on in 2022, you're going to be one of the top teams in the league. That's the way I'm viewing it. When I say sell Saquon, I'm not just saying sell him for pennies on the dollar. Sell him for the freaking beast of a package that you should be getting him for. That's what I mean. But anyways, we went on a little bit of a tangent about Saquon Barkley there. Let's get on to the next team, and that's going to be Muscles.
Right. So Muscles team, he's got it here. It's a 12-team, 1 quarterback, half PPR league. In a 1 quarterback format, looks like Jalen Hurts is a starter. He's got some decent depth there as well. Running backs, he's got Saquon Barkley and Cam Akers, 2 of my favorite running backs to own in fantasy. And then he's got some decent depth there as well. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Kenny Golladay, Michael Pittman, and some fodder. And then he's got TJ Hawkinson at tight end. So he has the 113 bonus pick in rookie drafts. We've heard a couple people on Dynasty Decisions say that they get a bonus pick for whatever reason, which ends up being basically the 201. He also has the 205, the 305, And he asks about trades for Barkley. Jesus, this is the theme of this episode, and whether or not he can compete or if he should look to sell his big tickets like Justin Jefferson, like Saquon Barkley, or like Cam Akers. So can he compete with this team? Let's just start with that question.
Hurts, Darnold, Tua, Winston. It's a risky quarterback quad.
It's a one quarterback league.
Oh, it's a one quarterback league. Okay,
yeah.
You're fine at quarterback for this year. Running backs, Barkley, Akers, Hunt, Fournette. You're probably missing a true 4, but aside from that, I think that's a really fine roster there. Wide receivers, Jefferson, McLaurin, Galladay, Pittman, Boyd. Yeah, you're fine there.
Yeah, he can compete.
Dude, this is a competing team. Yeah, this is a competing team. You don't have to worry. And in terms of Barkley, this is the team that I would keep Barkley on because I do think this is a team that this year is going to win now. The only reason I mentioned him last one is because he said, what do I fire sale? And that offers to me, okay, a couple of my best players got hurt. I don't know what to fucking do. That's what I was thinking. But in this scenario, going into it face value, looking to compete, keep Barkley because, again, when he's on the field, he's a top 5 dynasty running back asset at the very minimum, maybe overall asset.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is clearly a competing team to me. I know it. I mean, I'm not even sure why you're looking at your roster and thinking this isn't a competing team. I'm not really sure what your weakness is. Maybe Kenny Galladay, you're not the biggest fan of, but I think you got really no weaknesses in your starting lineup. You got some decent depth. You should be very well equipped to compete this year. And the only way that you would ever, sell any of these big tickets that you have, like Barkley, like Akers, like Jefferson, is if somebody sends you a Godfather offer. That's the only way I would sell those guys, just because to push me out of a winning window, which would be to trade any of those players away, I better get at least another piece I can compete with. Like somebody wants to give me CEH and 2 1s for Akers. Like I'll take that, but I don't think anybody's going to do that. So I would just sit pat and look to compete this year.
Yeah, I'd hope you'd take that. I was thinking maybe Javonte Williams and a 1 and a 2. But yeah, if someone wants to overpay for your studs, by all freaking means. But aside from that, this should be a competing team. Anyways, we'll get on to the next team, and that is Cobra Kai. And this is a 12-team half PPR super flex league, as you guys can see on the screen. The quarterbacks, Mahomes, Tannehill, Taysom Hill, Andy Dalton, and Davis Mills, so not a true third there. Running backs, Carson, Harris, Javonte Williams, Jamal Williams. Got the Williams bros on deck here. He's ready to roll. Wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Cortland Sutton, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle in particular. Tight ends, you got Dallas, the God, Goddard, and Adam Troutman in particular. So he basically says, this is my first year playing Dynasty, and this is a startup. It's a super flex half PPR. I want to know what moves or position I should be looking to improve upon, trade, or get ready for not only this year, but years to come. Thanks. Anyways, let's go on to the team. The way I'm kind of looking at that is the one that kind of stands out to me is not really fitting the rest of the roster build. Let's see if you can name it, Corey. Who do you think I'm thinking of? Of course. You knew it. Again, I would say if you can move Chris Carson and would you do right now Chris Carson in a first for Travis Etienne in a second?
Yeah, but I don't think anybody's going to do that.
I think so.
No, I don't.
No. What about just straight up Chris Carson first for Etienne?
I would do that, but I don't think anybody would.
Okay, fair enough. Regardless,
if you can do that, yeah, absolutely, I would do that. But when I'm looking at your roster, I think you can compete right away. So I wouldn't be necessarily looking to rebuild. My only real question about your roster is your third quarterback. So
that too.
Yeah, it's always hard to acquire a third quarterback, right? It seems easier than it is. If the people in your league, you're saying this is your first year in a Dynasty startup. So I'm assuming the other people that you're playing with are also somewhat new to Dynasty. And maybe they don't know, they don't quite know the value of quarterbacks. If you were able to flip Chris Carson for a Zach Wilson or something like that, then I would try and do something like that because your top 2 quarterbacks are going to help carry your team. You have Mahomes and Tannehill, they're going to be phenomenal. And as much as I think this team could compete this year, it's probably going to peak next year when Javonte Williams and Najee Harris are both, have a year under their belt. And usually running backs are in their prime from their sophomore season to the end of their rookie contract. So that's usually what you're looking for out of your running backs. And I would say that starts in 2022. So I would kind of see what happens this year. See if you can secure a third quarterback. Maybe you can't secure one this year. You just draft one in next year's draft. Danny's already mentioned there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks in next year's draft to go after. So I think from a future standpoint, you're probably in good shape, but Chris Carson is probably a 1 to 2 year asset, maybe only even a 1 year asset, because if Chris Carson has another injury riddled season this year, who's to say the Seahawks don't cut bait with him after the contract they just signed?
Yeah, no, definitely. And in general, aside from that, you drafted a very strong team, a team that should not only appreciate in value, but should also be able to compete within the next couple of years. So for your first dynasty draft, I will say you did a very good job.
I've definitely seen worse.
Absolutely. We've talked about worse on this show before. So we can get on to the next team unless you have anything else to add here.
No, we're good.
All right. We can get on to Daniel V, a 12-team PPR Superflex League. Quarterbacks, Tannehill, Ryan, Carr, etc. Running back, Cook, Kamara, Carson, McKissick, and Ty Johnson, I believe that is. Wide receivers, A.J. Brown, T. Higgins, Marquise Brown, and others there. Tight ends, Goddard, Thomas, and Hooper. And he doesn't have his first in 2022, but in 2023, he has a first and second in all of his 2024 picks. So his three questions. Number one, the good old classic. Can this team contend? I'll let you take it off, but I already know my answer seeing that running back core in particular.
Yeah, it'd be pretty hard not to contend with Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara and Ryan Tannehill too, and A.J. Brown. Like, you got a good enough team to contend. My only concern with your team
wide receiver depth
is wide receiver depth, right? If A.J. Brown were to get hurt, or if T. Higgins were to get hurt, you're kind of in no man's land in terms of who you're starting at wide receiver, because I would assume you're probably going to flex Chris Carson most weeks. I don't know if he sent what his starting roster is, if he has to start 3 wide receivers or how many flexes he has, but either way, I think you're looking at a situation where I'd be looking to get a little bit more in the ways of wide receiver depth. The question, I don't really know how you would get there, is acquiring wide receivers. Maybe you could look to see what Logan Thomas is worth in the eyes of your league mates.
Let's say that.
And see if you can acquire, a young receiver, at least that has some kind of a ceiling, or even if you can't acquire a young receiver, see if you can go after an Antonio Brown or a Jarvis Landry or something.
Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks. Yeah, somebody who's going to have some wide receiver 3 flex appeal for your roster, just because I am a little nervous outside of A.J. Brown and T. Higgins from your wide receiver core.
For sure. And it's funny because his next 2 questions basically allude to what we just talked about. Are there any trades that would help my team? We kind of just answered that. And would you consider trading Logan Thomas for some running back depth? I mean, like in terms of an RB4, again, like whether it's wide receiver depth or RB depth, I would definitely be shopping Logan Thomas and seeing what I can get. Again, people might be alert at the fact, oh, he had 110 targets last year. He was a high volume tight end. This is a PPR league. Guess what? If you have Logan Thomas, this is the type of fire sale guy, because I am taking almost anything for him at this point. Because quite frankly, we're going to be talking about a 55 target tight end next year who has 400 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, and we're going to be wondering what the heck happened. And then we're going to realize, oh yeah, what the heck happened is they completely changed this offense, added Diami Brown, Curtis Samuel, and gave Antonio Gibson the mother of workloads. So there's your answers. Sell Logan Thomas. You have him now. Take those wide receivers or running backs for depth.
Yeah, I think if you can grab Logan Thomas and maybe you need your 3rd round pick to execute this. You take your 3rd round pick and Logan Thomas and get a formidable wide receiver 3. I think you pull off a move like that any day of the week. Yep,
absolutely. So we can get on to the next team, and that's going to be from Trenton, a 1 quarterback, half PPR, 10-team league. Corey, take it away. Read off Trenton's team.
Yeah, so it is a 1 quarterback league. Like you said, he's got Aaron Rodgers and Ryan Tannehill in it, even though it is a 1 quarterback league. It is a 10-team league as well. Half PPR. He has Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, and Najee Harris as his top 3 running backs. Definitely a nice spot to be in there. Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, and Robert Woods. Jesus Christ. He's got 4 flex spots too. It's one of those leagues, and I've seen a lot of people playing in these, where you start like 1 of each position and you have a lot of flex spots. So there's a lot of different strategy that people can go with if they want to fade running backs, load up on running backs, whatever the case is. And then at tight end, he has Darren Waller and Adam Troutman. It looks like he's missing his 1st round pick next year. And he has his 1st round pick in 2023, and that's about it. It looks like he's just got all of his picks outside of that. So he made a couple trades. He wants to know our thoughts on the trades. Overall, I think this is a really good roster. Obviously, it is a 10-team league, so you'd expect most teams to be good. But I would say even in a 10-team league, this is probably the best roster in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'll be honest, though. I don't know if I'm a fan of this first trade. I mean, to me, I'm basically seeing it. It's Swift, Pittman, and a first for Tyreek Hill, if I'm reading that right.
Yeah, so like Danny said, it looks like in this trade, he got a couple of mid-round picks and Tyreek Hill in exchange for Swift, Pittman, a first and a 2023 second. And I mean, I think the equivalent value for Tyreek Hill is Swift in the first at the highest end. Like, yeah, I wouldn't. The highest end I would pay for Tyreek Hill would be Swift in a first. So
I would say Swift and Pittman for me personally.
I'm a little lower on Swift than you. So Swift in a first to me is probably about fair value. And given the state of your running back core, and it's not like your running back core is bad because it's like it's the worst part of your team, but it's also still very good. But the fact that your RB4 is AJ Dillon is like the weakest point in your team. And if you had DeAndre Swift instead of AJ Dillon there, and you still had Nuke Hopkins and Amari Cooper and Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, Robert Woods, and Elijah Moore and Darnell Mooney, your receiver core would still be in excellent shape. So yeah, you're a win now team and you want to go out and acquire studs when you're a win now team. I just personally think you probably would have been better suited to hold on to Swift, and you might have even been able to get a different stud receiver for cheaper.
Yep, absolutely. But guess what? He ended up getting his next stud receiver. Holy crap. What did you pay this guy to accept this deal? I love Devonta Smith, but Jesus Christ, you got Godwin and Elijah Moore straight up for him?
Yeah, I'd rather have Godwin straight up than Devonta Smith.
That is excellent. Like, although we think you lost the first deal, this second deal you fucking made out like a bandit. You're robbing a bank and you're taking it home and you're bringing that Millie back to your crib, because that's what Elijah Moore and Chris Godwin represent in this deal. Great job.
The next deal is even more one-sided.
Yeah,
it's not close. It's not close. Okay, so the next deal you can see, he got Amari Cooper, Najee Harris, and Ryan Tannehill. This is a one quarterback league, so Ryan Tannehill doesn't have as much value as if it was a super flex, but the two best assets in this deal are Amari Cooper and Najee Harris, and you got them both. And the 109, someone inexplicably took Rondell Moore at the 109, which I would never do, even in a one quarterback league. Chase Claypool is a great piece. I love Chase Claypool, but there is absolutely no chance I would make this deal. Like Amari Cooper and Najee Harris alone would be worth the package that you traded away. Let alone you got Ryan Tannehill, who's another great quarterback, and Chris Evans, who's, an interesting handcuff, I guess.
Yep, absolutely. So great job there. This next deal, Nelson Aguilar, Austin Hooper, and the 310 he got for AJ Dillon.
Oh, sorry. So this deal is actually reversed. He actually got AJ Dillon and traded that stuff away.
Oh, then you did fine. I was about to say, I don't like that deal for you, but I like getting AJ Dillon here.
Yeah, you needed an RB4. You went out and traded some fodder, and like at the point you're at right now, like Nelson Aguilar would have been what, your wide receiver 9 on your roster? Like what did Nelson Aguilar doesn't mean anything to your team, and Tutu Atwell would be like your wide receiver 13 on your roster. So I think if you can get an exciting-ish young running back out of that deal, I think that's pretty good. I almost would try and make another deal like that with some of your other wide receiver depth pieces. Like try and take Darnell Mooney and Jalen Reagor and go get Damian Harris or something like that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. You smashed this out of the park. Anyways, are there any closing thoughts you have on this team aside from that?
No, we don't need to spend too much time on this team. He's obviously in good shape.
All right, absolutely. We'll get on to the next team, and that's going to be from Henry. Oh, Henry himself, 12-team super flex, 5 flexes, only 1 starter at each position. Keep this in mind. Not your typical 2 running back, 2 wide receiver set. Nah, it's 1 starter at each position, the rest being flexes. Take it away, Corey.
Yeah, so a super flex league, and again, I swear to God, everybody who has like 6 quarterbacks on the roster, it's always these guys. Deshaun Watson and Trey Lance, it's always both of those guys. They always have both of them. Then he's got Tua, Zach Wilson, and Ryan Tannehill. And again, this is a super flex league, and he's got 5 exciting starting quarterbacks that are all ranked in my top 20, with most of them ranked in my top like 12. And at wide receiver, he's got Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuel, some pretty decent depth as well. Najee Harris, CEH, ETN, AJ Dillon, and some depth as well. TJ Hawkinson, Evan Ingram and OJ Howard, a couple of busts from the 2017 class. And then he's got 2 1s in 2022 somehow and a 2023 first. Basically, he said general thoughts on my overall roster. He said, this is my first ever Dynasty startup. You could have fucking fooled me. Where can I improve? He says, I don't know, maybe teach me what you're doing and then I can learn from you. He said, everyone in this league is new to Dynasty. What are ways to take advantage of new players? I think you already did that. He's like, I have the best depth in my league by a very large margin.
I'd assume so.
What players should I package together to acquire another elite player at a position? Or should I keep my depth given the roster requirements, the fact that you start 5 flexes? And he says, note, QB2s are incredibly undervalued in this league at the moment because everybody is new to Superflex. Which is why I was able to acquire so many. Thanks for the help. Love the show. I don't even really feel like giving you any help, but we will anyways. But I think you basically, with your quarterback situation, let's start with that because it's the easiest thing we can tackle.
Hey, I'll just say one thing quickly for your sake. I hope this league has a very large buy-in because you're going to be ranking for years.
Yeah. I mean, it's really amazing the fact that you're in a position that you're in, and the fact that you still can do so much with this roster is pretty crazy too. Because
I'll say one thing quickly too. How did you get that team and then still convince somebody to give you their first next year?
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so what I would be doing is the second that these other teams realize that they need to start 2 quarterbacks every week, I'm trying to trade probably Tua, Zach Wilson, or Tannehill. I would probably keep Watson and Lance because they're very, very high ceiling quarterbacks. And Tannehill probably too, so maybe not him, but Tua and Zach Wilson for sure. Probably Tua is the guy I'm shopping. If we see Tua get out to a pretty hot start and some guy realizes that he doesn't have a lot of starting quarterbacks, that's the guy I would be shopping. I'd be looking to acquire draft capital probably with it and just keep your Rolodex of assets in the bank so that you can continue to build this thing. If you wanted to, you could probably try and package, in my opinion, a guy I really don't believe in that much. Sorry, if you want to get after me in the comments, if you wanted to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire and take Tua and go after, what kind of running back do you think you could get with that? You think you can get you can get Akers out of that. I don't know. You might even be able to get Akers for less than that. But if you could get, Jonathan Taylor for that potentially, or Saquon Barkley or something, if they're lower on them.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, you're absolutely laughing. And for this being your first year, guess what? Once those managers realize that they need a second quarterback, you're going to be fucking fleecing some people, let me tell you. So overall, great job here. And I agree with Bush, Tua, Zach Wilson, Tannehill, whatever. You put them on the block and you let the offers come. And all these sheep, once they realize, oh, fuck, my I don't even know, a random quarterback too. My Ben Roethlisberger got hurt and I don't have a quarterback too. Guess what? They're coming to you, baby.
Yep.
All right. I had so much fun with that.
We had a nice fun laugh on your team and for a good reason. So I hope you enjoyed that as well. So yeah, Wolverine's team. Let's get into that one. I'll let you take that one away.
For sure. This is Superflex 1 PPR 12-team league. And he basically just says, for dynasty decisions, what should I do to improve? Is there anyone to target with trade? So a quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, with the Superflex being Tua Tagovailoa. Running back, Saquon Barkley. I guess it's another one running back league, but he's got Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. So yeah, you're chilling there. Wide receivers, you got Justin Jefferson and DK Metcalf. Tight end, TJ Hawkinson. He's got just Kyle Pitts chilling in his flex too. So he's vibing. Bench quarterback, Sam Darnold, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jordan Love, James Conner, running back, Mecole Hardman, Jerry Jeudy, Evan Ingram, Terrace Marshall, Rondo Moore, Kadarius Toney, Elijah Mitchell in particular. With it also has a kicker and a defense. And from what I know, I don't play in those leagues, but Zerline should get a lot of extra points, high-powered offense, and Ravens and Bears defense should be a decent mixture too.
Yeah, I think your high-end talent is insane, right? Like the fact that somebody let you get my number 1 and number 2 dynasty ranked running back. I have no idea how the hell you pulled that off, but McCaffrey and Barkley, like that alone is going to be enough to carry your team. Not to mention the fact that you also have Jefferson and Metcalf. And if Rodgers plays, he's also going to be a huge advantage at the position. And you have 2 of the top 5 tight ends, or 2 of the top 6 tight ends at the very least in dynasty as well. So your high end talent is very, very good. Your depth is, could be a little bit better. Some of the players that you selected here, I'm just not quite as high on maybe as you were, but Jerry Jeudy and Terrace Marshall and some of these other pieces are still pretty good. Overall, I think it looks like he has all of his draft picks. He sent a picture of his draft capital as well. So it doesn't look like he has any kind of differences really in his draft picks. Overall, I think this team should be well equipped to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say the same thing. I say this all the time, but be flexible, baby. If you're at the trade deadline and you're 6-2 and you say, oh, guess what? I don't know, freaking Mecole Hardman's performing out of his freaking wazoo, and you end up turning Mecole Hardman a first and a second into DeAndre Hopkins. Guess what? You're freaking laughing at that point. This is a team that should contend this year, contend next year. You got 2 of the best running backs in the entire NFL that also receive elite volume and elite receiving volume. You're good. You're chilling. The only thing I could also worry about, but then again, you do have Darnold Fitzpatrick on the bench, is that if Aaron Rodgers holds out or retires or anything happens like that, maybe it's a little sketchy having Darnold Fitzpatrick, but at least you have 2 other starting quarterbacks.
You move one of those tight ends.
That would be something I look for too. The one I would be more willing to move, again, obviously I'm extremely high on Kyle Pitts, and as much as I love TJ Hawkinson, I would look to move him. But again, if you're able to get a freaking George Kittle type of package for a Kyle Pitts here, I'd look to do that as well. Just kind of gauge. put those guys around, say, hey, listen, I got a lot of depth here. Maybe you're interested in this type of player. If they have dog meat at tight end, like a couple of the other teams we were talking about earlier, by all means, man, go for it. This is a team that, again, be flexible. I say that a lot. Be flexible. We're going to say that at the end of the video.
Right. And speaking of the end of the video, we only have one more team to get into, and that's Pavel's 14-team, 1-quarterback league. So I'll let you take that one away, and then we'll close this one out.
Yep, absolutely. If you guys haven't already been tired by my voice, guess what? This is the last team, so you don't have to hear it for too much longer. We can start off with the quarterback position, Ryan Tannehill and Baker Mayfield. Running backs, you got Josh Jacobs, Zach Moss, Kenneth Gainwell, and others. Wide receivers, you got J. Jeff, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, absolutely stacked there. And tight end, you got Austin Hooper, Ferkser, and O.J. Howard. For his picks, his 2022 first, he has his pick, and he also has another 2022 first because he traded Kareem Hunt for what will most likely be a top 7 next year.
Great trade. Great trade.
Kareem, yeah.
Kareem Hunt definitely could have helped your team because, Zach Moss is your RB2 now, but you have what looks like a very young team, especially at receiver. And the fact that you can trade Kareem Hunt, honestly, for a first-round pick in general is good value, let alone, you said it's going to be a top 7 pick. We never know these things. Sometimes you can get yourself into trouble assuming picks are going to be high. But if you assume everything is pick 6 to 10, then I would easily take pick 6 to 10 for Kareem Hunt.
Yep, absolutely. So let's look at these deals now. Let's look at the context of the team first, because he has 2 separate Devonta Smith deals. And judging from it right now, I'm loving that second one, but we could talk about the first one real quick. Devonta Smith, a first and a second, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, he'd be giving up in exchange for Javonte Williams and Darnell Mooney. This one, as much as I love Javonte Williams, I would probably hold the Smith package here because the way I look at it, Devonta Smith, a second, and DPJ's probably worth about Javonte Williams, give or take.
They're pretty equal in my rankings, my rookie rankings. So Devonta Smith plus the second round pick, honestly, is probably worth Javonte Williams.
Yeah, and like DPJ is just kind of fodder. The reason why I said that is because obviously RB scarcity, you might get a little bit more for the running back. So, but a 2022 first, I would rather over Mooney. So that gives the edge to the side that you would be giving up. So I wouldn't do that deal. But the second deal, Antonio Gibson, go get him. Antonio Gibson, McCole Hardman. Look, we're lower on McCole Hardman than most. I get it, but he's still the wide receiver 2 on the Chiefs offense. And in general, if I'm getting him in addition to Antonio Gibson in this deal, I'm absolutely
I'd say he just cancels out the second rounder in this deal.
So basically, Devonta Smith and a first and DPJ for Antonio Gibson. Give me the running back with elite upside. We're talking about a guy that I think can win you leagues.
Yeah, and I think he can be the next Christian McCaffrey, as I wrote for the Scouts a couple months ago. So, yeah, I definitely would pull the trigger on that Gibson deal, especially given the current state of your roster. You would still have Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Jamar Chase as your wide receivers, and you now have Josh Jacobs as your RB2 instead of your RB1, which makes it a lot better of a situation. And your packaging, I don't know, he didn't actually specify if the first-round pick he's giving up is his or his other first-round pick that he has, but I would probably suggest that you give up yours.
Yeah, your team is absolutely stacked. The only thing here, obviously, again, the main weakness of your team would be the RB2 and possibly tight end. And you could
go out and trade something for if you can go out and acquire Gronkowski cheap just to get by this year or something like that, you could probably pull something like that off.
You could probably do it for your 3 this year, and I think that would be a fair deal for you.
Or you could take AJ Dillon even and go out and get somebody maybe even a little bit better than Gronk for that.
Yeah, if you could turn AJ Dillon into, let's just say hypothetically, a tight end in that range. Cole Kmet. You could probably get Cole Kmet in a pick, honestly.
Yeah.
That's how people value.
That's probably what I would be looking to do. But yeah, that Devonta Smith for Antonio Gibson deal, I would absolutely take that.
Yep, absolutely. So overall, any closing thoughts on this team?
I think he has a couple other trades down here, doesn't he?
No, they're the same deals. It's just the Devontae Williams, Mooney for the Smith Peoples-Jones deal on the show sheet. Either way, yeah, we're reading the show sheet right now. If you guys need any context, if you guys made it this far in the video and enjoyed the content, hit that like button. We need that for the SEO, YouTube algorithm, anything you guys want to call it. And if you made it this far, comment down below roster flexibility. I've said that probably a million times this episode alone. So comment it down below, roster flexibility. That being said, hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.